Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So picture a master chef who can cook literally any dish in the world. Now, instead of that one chef trying to do everything, what if you had a whole team of specialists? One for pasta, one for pastries, one just for sushi. Each one would be perfectly efficient at their one specific thing. Well, it turns out that's the exact lesson that artificial intelligence is learning right now.
It's a really good question when you stop and think about it, right? We have these absolutely mind-blowing AI models that can write poetry or code an entire app, but you can't just run them on your phone or in your car. Why not? What's the holdup?
To get to the bottom of that, we have to talk about a huge challenge facing AI today. It's this paradox of power that researchers are basically racing to solve.
See, on the one hand, you've got these incredible AI brains, these large language models, LLMs. They're state-of-the-art. They can do so many things. But on the other hand, they have these massive appetites. All that power comes with what researchers call enormous computational costs, which is really just a fancy way of saying they need way too much horsepower for our everyday devices.
And here's what it all boils down to, something called tokens. You can think of tokens as the little pieces of words that an AI has to read. So when you give an AI a sentence, it chops it up into these tokens. And the more tokens it has to chew on, the more work it has to do. That's the core of the problem.
So, okay, if tokens are the problem, the logical first step was to try and, just use fewer of them. This led to a pretty clever idea called token pruning. It's a good idea in theory, but the first try had a pretty big flaw.
The idea itself was really straightforward. Just look at a sentence, figure out which words seem least important for general meaning, words like the, or is, and just snip them out. Prune them before the AI has to do all the heavy lifting. Fewer tokens means a faster model. Simple enough, right?
But here's the catch. And the researchers behind this paper put it perfectly. A one-size-fits-all approach is basically a blunt instrument. A token that seems totally useless for one task might be absolutely critical for another one. When you prune everything the same way, you risk throwing out the most important ingredient the AI needs for that specific job.
And that is what brings us to the breakthrough. Back to our kitchen analogy. Instead of one clumsy chef trying to cook everything with the same knife, what if we could teach the AI to be a team of specialist chefs? This is a much, much smarter way to prune.
So, let's meet the hero of our story. Task-specific dynamic token pruning. Let's just call it TS-DTP. It's basically a framework that teaches the AI how to customize the pruning for every single job it's given. It stops asking, is this token generally important? And starts asking, is this token important for this specific recipe right now?
And this is the real aha moment. Take a sentence like, the acting was incredible, but the plot was a total bore. Okay? If the AI's job is sentiment analysis, just figuring out if the review is good or bad, it knows to keep the words incredible and bore. But if its job is to answer the question, what was wrong with the movie, it knows to keep plot and acting. It's the same sentence, but different tasks mean different pruning. That's our specialist chef at work.
So how does it pull this off? Well, it actually learns a unique little rule book, a pruning policy, for every single type of job. It uses this cool thing called task-specific attention to figure out what's important for that job, and it adjusts on the fly. And because it does this, it holds on to that crucial context that the old one-size-fits-all method was just throwing in the trash.
Okay, so the idea sounds great. It's elegant. But an idea is only as good as its results, right? The real question is, does it actually work? Well, the researchers put TS-DTP to the test, and let's just say the proof is in the performance.
And they didn't just test it on one easy thing. No, they threw a whole bunch of different jobs at it, things like sentiment analysis, answering questions, and even really complex machine translation, like going from English to German. They wanted to see if the specialist approach could really hold up under pressure. All right, first up, accuracy. Let's look at the scores. That first bar is the original model, doing no pruning at all. It scores a 92.1%. The second bar is that old general pruning method. Accuracy drops to 90.8%. So it got a little faster, but it also got dumber. Now look at that third bar. That's our specialist chef, TS-DTP. It scores a 91.9%. It's just as smart as the original. Now for the big payoff, speed. The original model is chugging along at 1,200 tokens a second. The old pruning method gets a nice little boost to 1,560. But look at our specialist, TS-DTP. It blows past both of them, hitting 1,680 tokens per second. So let that sink in. It's just as accurate, but it's significantly faster.
To put a hard number on that, TS-DTP was a full 40% faster than the standard model that wasn't doing any pruning. That is a massive gain in efficiency, with basically no downside in quality.
And it wasn't just faster, it was also leaner. The researchers found it used about 20% less memory while it was running. And that is a huge deal if your goal is to get powerful AI onto smaller devices.
So this is all really cool research, but let's bring it all home. Why does a smarter, more efficient AI actually matter to you? What does this mean for the real world?
Well, this is how we finally answer that question from the beginning. This is how we get there. This kind of specialized efficiency is what will finally let us put truly powerful AI on our phones and in our cars. It means faster, way more responsive digital assistants that don't have to call a giant server farm for every little question. It means making these advanced tools accessible to way more people without needing a supercomputer. And maybe just as important, it helps make AI more sustainable by cutting down on all that energy it uses.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. We're always focused on making AI more and more powerful. But what if the next great leap forward isn't just about raw power, but about wisdom? The wisdom to know what's important, and just as critically, the wisdom to know what to ignore. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.